A very important but very critical question I've been asked for 41 years. Why is it so difficult to learn how and understand the proper and necessary way to invest in oil and gas assets? I'm Troy Eckard. I'm the chairman of the board of Eckard Enterprises. I've been involved in the oil and gas industry since 1985. And I've represented literally thousands upon thousands of successful entrepreneurs who want to own oil and gas assets in the United States. Out of 22 million millionaires in the country, with 1,000 millionaires being made almost every day, how come there's just very, very few wealthy investors who actually delve off, find out, and participate in owning and investing in oil and gas assets directly? I'm not talking public stock. I'm not talking about funds. I'm not talking about peripheral SPVs or through hedge funds. I'm talking about owning interest in wells and mineral rights. Well, let me tell you why. There is no incentive for any of the major oil companies to teach you the secret sauce, how to go compete with them. There's no way they want you to become Elon Musk and SpaceX competing with NASA, or in fact, overtaking NASA. They do not want what they do to be in the hands of those that, with an aggregation of capital, might actually compete, buying oil companies, buying leasehold, buying mineral rights. The reason it's so difficult, it's a very specialized industry. It's really not that hard. It is complex. It takes a certain type of character and characteristics to be able to invest and understand oil and gas. But like in any industry, what looks simple to me when somebody does another product or industry I've never been involved in, I might look at it and go, I did not know that's how it worked. I didn't understand that was the pitfall. I didn't really comprehend all the different pushes and pulls of that particular sector. Well, after you've done it 5, 10, 20, 30 years, what looks very difficult becomes second nature. You know, as the chairman of the board of my own company, in watching us grow over the last decade, now managing close to $1.5, $1.6 billion in directly owned mineral rights, leasehold, producing wells, and pipelines, it's very clear to me that our clients, the people who participate with us, really have taken a leap of faith. And the leap of faith is, I want to be in oil and gas. I want to seek and learn as much as I can learn. But to some degree, I've got to go to what they believed is an expert in oil and gas. And we believe we are the expert in oil and gas, tying an industry to those with capital. See, when it comes to large capital sources, Wall Street wants to fund it through private equity. Hedge fund wants to get it through family offices and private high net worth investors. Exxon wants to get it from shareholders, where you buy it through their direct reinvestment program or their DRIP program and buy your grandkid $100 worth of their stock and you keep it for 30 or 40 years. They all have the same mouse trap. They just use different bait. They all go to public pensions and retirement accounts and private retail investors in one form or fashion. That money's then aggregated and it finally flows out into the oil and gas industry. Now, the question I asked at the beginning of this is, how come it's so difficult? Well, I think I answered that. They don't want you to know the secret sauce. But what is it about you as a potential investor, regardless of your net worth, regardless of your income, what is it about you that maybe should have you really seeking the answers to how the oil and gas industry works, and why, in fact, today, of all time, with the U.S.-Iranian war, a massive global shortage of crude oil, and a major global economic downturn as a result of this supply shortage, all happening in less than 90 days, and that might be an asset class in an industry I better get more familiar with, is what I'd be asking myself. Now, again, you can be an oil and gas investor by buying Exxon stock. You can be an oil and gas investor by buying bonds. You are an oil and gas investor / customer every day that you wake up, because everything you drive, touch, eat, consume, anything that you have in your life somehow is directly or indirectly tied to the consumption and utilization of fossil fuels. The question is, in today's chaotic world, what is it about oil and gas that might want you, if you're financially qualified, to think about, is this an investment or asset class that I should be more familiar with? And if I do, how do I get that information? Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. You ready? Every piece of information out there, for the most part, that has anything to do with oil and gas investing is completely biased. It's biased toward whoever wrote it. It's biased for the purpose of the writing in the first place. I want to tell you to drill wells over here because I own leases over here and I want to sell you an investment. I may tell you want to own this pipeline over here or this salt water over there. I may tell you want to buy an income fund or drilling vertical wells or re-entering old wells. I know most of this may be language that you're not familiar with if you've never looked at oil and gas. But what I'm really saying is there's a buffet of opportunity in the oil and gas sector. And there's a lot of ways and different means and methods of owning oil and gas assets. The question is, how do you know what to buy, what to invest? If you invest at all, do you just gather information? Do you use the information to help the rest of your portfolio? And what I would suggest is the following. You're probably not going to ever find a single site, regardless whether it's the government, the IEA, the EIA, all these energy organizations, you're probably not going to find any single site today that I know of that matches capital with oil and gas assets as a direct link between the product and the source of capital it takes to own it, develop it, and be in the position of being an oil and gas participant. That bridge, that gap does not exist. I've worked my entire career to try to develop a gap that would exist between money and assets. Now, it's difficult because even in my position as chairman of the board of my own company, we have all kinds of proprietary ways that we do business. We have methodology, we have engineers, we have geologists, we have accountants, landmen, and each company derives its own way of approaching the industry. So you could line up the top 25 oil and gas exploration companies in the country, and I can almost assure you every aspect of what they do is different than the other 24 companies. Why is that? Different opinions, different cost of capital, different source of capital, different strategy, different beliefs from the C-suite down. We want to chase gas. We want to chase oil. We want a combination of both. We like the rules and regulations in Louisiana. We like the rules and regulations better in Colorado. We want to avoid states that are anti-fossil fuel. We want states that are mostly held by state or federal lands where it's easier to go negotiate and bid on. These components make up the difficulty and the measurement of complexity to be an oil and gas participant. Here's my challenge to you today. I think if I'm looking at the Strait of Hormuz and what has occurred in the last 90 days between the Iranian war created by the United States and Israel, attacking Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon, what has happened as a result of that war is it's raised the bar of awareness by every investor, every country, every user of fossil fuels, how fragile this industry is in terms of supply versus ongoing and persistent demand. Whether or not you ever participate directly in oil and gas, that's kind of a sidebar, side note. For those that are qualified, it's a great asset you might want to think about. For those who are not qualified, you might want to say, how does it work? Because the residual downstream effect of the economics of a shortage of supply, a rise in commodity prices, a change in logistical sourcing of oil from maybe the Middle East to maybe South America, from Argentina, Brazil, and other countries that can supply it without having to be at a bottleneck in the Strait of Hormuz. These are all things that I would want to know if I were sitting out there with an investment strategy and a portfolio that I'm developing. Why is it so hard? It's because no one on the oil and gas side wants to teach the money how it works. Because I've always said, finding a great deal is almost impossible. Finding money is extremely easy. So that means you have to find the combination of somebody or a method that you can find that allows you to find that great deal. Because if you do, you'll put your money into it. But I'm assuring you this, those with money, when they hear about it, will fund it instantaneously. In 41-year career, I have never found a single issue putting together money when I have a great deal. If you have a car with 3 tires, you can't give it away. You have a car with 4 tires, low mileage, in great shape, ready on the runway to go, and it is premium top of the line, everybody wants to get in the car and ride with you. Oil and gas is a great industry. It's complex, it's long-term thinking, it's contrarian, but it can be a great beneficial asset whether you invest in it or just learn about it. I challenge you today, start finding a way to become more knowledgeable about the oil and gas industry in this country.